we're continuing to see some record new inflations. Just take a look at the stock market today and an absolute, I mean, it's literally circling the toilet this afternoon. Here's the S&P 500 trading in a bear market territory as stocks slide. This was the Wall Street Journal just a short time ago, a few minutes ago, actually. CNBC had its hair on fire, flipping out, freaking out. Maybe they'll actually start to pay attention to how bad inflation has gotten because now it's affecting Wall Street.
Right.
You know?
I was thinking today about the earlier, when the inflation numbers really started to rocket and how reporters were like, yes, but Americans can afford it. It's okay, right? And so that kind of condescending talk has screeched to a halt. It is not quite a bear market because a bear market means a 20% slide off of recent highs. We're not there yet, but 4% means we're getting close, right? That's a big drop in just a single day. That's just the S&P 500. So what are analysts telling us? Oh, they're telling us it's about inflation. It's about Putin. It's about Ukraine. I mean, you know this one, right? Sing along if you know it.
Right. So take a look at this. This is the headline of hotter than expected inflation numbers right now. Core inflation both rose more than forecasted in May. So higher. So Friday night it comes out. They sort of release this on Friday night, right, when they're hoping people aren't paying attention. But people are paying attention.
Yes.
You know, it's like it's one thing when Wall Street gets hit with this. It's quite another thing when the average American recognizes this at the pump. Now, I thought Tom Elliott had a really good take on this on inflation. So here's Tom Elliott's tweet on this. He said, breaking, U.S. annualized inflation just peaked 17% for the first time since World War II, the highest rate in 75 years. The media are misreporting the real data, and I'll explain why. So take a closer look at this chart. So this chart shows two different numbers here. This is consumer inflation versus the actual data. So the number in blue is the actual number, okay? And in what year did they switch it? So
he points out that there were a number of policy changes starting in the 70s that started to change the definition of inflation from government printing more money, from expansion of money, because it used to be that inflation accounted for just a basket of goods for a standard of living, right? An agreed upon standard of living that everyone normally buys, let's say, milk and eggs and that kind of, electricity, gas, those rent. And they don't do that anymore. And so through all of these market manipulations now, inflation looks lower, but it does not account for the fact that the government continues to expand money for itself.
Right. So put this chart back up if you can. Sorry, I know we went past it, but these numbers are telling, right? So there's one number that the government is giving you, right?
Yes.
It's total horseshit, right? And the real number is way higher. It's like closer to 17%.
It's 16.8%, right?
So Friday night, their hair is on fire, 8.6%. And of course, they're all trying to, just distract you from all of this. And of course, this is how President Biden is continuing to spin this. I want to get Scott's perspective on this. So this is all because of one man. Take a listen to President Biden explaining this.
Putin's price hike is hitting America hard. Gas prices at the pump, energy and food prices account for half of the monthly price increases since May.
So Scott, it's all about, it's Putin's fault.
Well, shame on him. Mm-hmm. No, this is, under normal circumstances, I would like to believe people would just shake their head and say, how stupid does Biden think we are? Because this is all the fault of policies enacted by his administration, yes. Policies that defend a despicable regime in Ukraine. I can't even begin to tell you how low my opinion is of Zelensky and the far right-wing political parties that surround him in Ukraine is. This is a president who thought he could intimidate Putin, bully Putin, deter action by threatening unprecedented economic sanctions, not realizing that he's dealing with a man who is not just a man, but a nation, a government, a system of governance that is far more capable, competent, and intelligent than the Biden administration. And he threatened him in June of 2021 at Geneva, looked him in the eye and told him, you're going down if you do this. He gave him 6 months to prepare a counter, and Putin sure did prepare a counter. This boomerang back. The ruble will be rubble. The ruble's doing quite well. The European economy is tanking even worse than ours, and it's getting to the point where we may not have a reverse gear on this car. That's how bad Biden is making this. At some point in time, the damage is so great that you can't just simply reverse it by changing policy. So no, this isn't Vladimir Putin's fault. This is Joe Biden's fault, and frankly speaking, it's America's fault because we continue to buy into the notion that Vladimir Putin is some sort of evil dictator, that Russia is the modern day version of the Third Reich, that everything that comes out of Moscow is bad. And we aren't being as critical as we should be about what's going on in Washington, D.C.
Right. Today I was reading an article in Reuters that said that India and China are the new recipients of Russian oil. And I just kind of laughed because I was like, wait, to catch up. That's not new, right? Those places have already been buying. Like, Russia had this in the tank. Like, they were kind of smart about diversifying their wealth and selling to other nations that were not just Western. And these places have already had existing relationships. Well,
also, we saw today, too, that these numbers, Scott, I think what's interesting is that he continues to, I think what you said at the beginning is spot on. I think he thinks we're stupid because if you looked at the Bureau of Labor Statistics numbers on this, gas prices were already going up significantly, and inflation was already at a 40-year high prior to February 24th. That's any idiot with a keyboard and a mouse can literally go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics and see this data. So he's lying right to our faces when he tells us this is Putin's fault.
No, there's no doubt. Again, I need to step in and just say right up front, I am not an economist. So you're getting a little outside of my comfort zone when we start talking about a big number. I know what I spend at the gas pump. I know what I spend at the grocery store, and I know what I bring home every month. And I know that there's a growing divergence between the two. I also know that a lot of this data that you're talking about was tracking in the wrong direction prior to this equation. There's any number of reasons. Bad domestic policy. I mean, this is Joe Biden, encouraging the kind of spending that contributes to inflation.
Right.
COVID. We still have the whole COVID issue, and now on top of that, though, when things are going bad, you don't throw in an economic nuclear bomb by sanctioning Russian energy, by disrupting global food sources. So as bad as things were going in, he just made it 20 times worse by enacting the policies. And again, I'm not an economist, but I was smart enough to say, and I said this right in December, we will lose this economic fight. Russia will win. Europe will be destroyed. The American economy will be severely impacted. And this is a non-economist saying this in December when taking a look at what, the kind of sanctions that Biden was threatening. So if I can figure it out, and literally I'm, simple Marine, one would hope that economists could figure it out, but everybody bought into these sanctions as if they were somehow this magic policy that would, make everything good, that make the Russians collapse, make Europe and America stronger. It's failed across the board.
It's amazing. Right. You have Tulsi Gabbard. I remembered this, and I said I wanted to play this because Tulsi Gabbard back in February was asked about sanctions, these Russian sanctions. And I think we were on this show. We're not economists either. We're simple journalists. We're simple journalists, right? But we were looking at this saying this is not going to hurt him at all. This is not going to hurt him. Tulsi Gabbard said this, and I'm going to play this. She got vilified by Democrats for saying this. This was February. Watch this.
These sanctions don't work, whether they were put in before or now or later. These sanctions don't work. What we do know is that they will increase suffering and hardship for the American people. And this is the whole problem with the Biden administration. They are so focused on how do we punish Putin that they don't care and are not focused on what is actually in the best interests of the American people. So when Biden stands there and looks directly into the camera and says, defending freedom will cost us, what he really should be saying is looking directly into the American people's eyes and saying, this will cost you, because these sanctions are not going to cost him or Kamala Harris or the power elite in this country, even the power elite in Russia. It is the people who will suffer, the American people, the Russian people, people here at home working hard every single day, facing those drastically increasing prices at the gas pump, facing increasing costs at the supermarket, impacting our supply chain. The hardships that people are dealing with every day now, with Biden's sanctions plan, we're only going to see that continuing to get worse.
Oh, Kamala mocked her for that.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a number of people that said, sorry, Tulsi, you don't know what you're talking about.
But you don't have to be an economist to be able to commiserate with how much this is hurting all of us, right? We have 3 children. But I think that it's good to have your perspective, Scott, because we are being asked to swallow a political reason for the reason that we are feeling this pain. And it may not be true. And if it's not true, then why are we suffering, right? If it were some kind of noble cause, that might be one thing, but it doesn't feel like that to us. In fact, for the first time, I actually dragged Clayton to the grocery store today, and our bill was much higher than it normally is. And I said, I don't know if that's inflation or if that's the bring your husband tax. Because Clayton always loads the cart with things that I would not buy.
Yeah.
So
it's like when we go to Costco, or whatever. It's like, well, I need a flat screen television this afternoon.
He found a pallet of peanut butter because he's like, this stuff may run out. I'm worried about it. Like, that was really expensive. So he bought like a dozen.
I'm gonna blame it on Putin. It was Putin's.
Also, I can attest all the sriracha's out. So that story tracks.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, blame it on Putin. You're in good company. But let me put it this way. Tulsi Gabbard is the only political candidate in the last 20 years who I have her T-shirt. I mean, I contributed to her.
Wow.
I think highly of her. And I'm not a political kind of guy. I don't normally do this. I follow it, but I keep it in close. I don't wear it on my sleeve. I just think she's articulate. I think she's intelligent. She's not perfect. No one is. But she means well. She's smart. And when a smart person means well, good things tend to happen. So, she speaks and look, history has proven her 100% correct. Mm-hmm. And yet no one's giving her any credit. No one's saying, hey, Tulsi, you are, but in the mainstream. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris, the fact that Kamala Harris can vilify Tulsi Gabbard and not be vilified by the American people as a result just speaks of where we're at today in terms of American domestic politics, where literally we have the Biden-Harris team destroying the country as we speak. And the American people are still ignorant enough to largely buy into, it's Putin's fault, it's the Putin tactic. And one of the reasons is they don't know Putin. They don't know Russia. They don't know Russian history. They don't know modern Russian history. They don't know, contemporary Russian history. You know who does? Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah. She was the one who was very, very critical and talking about what had happened with the biolabs, and which she was vilified for that. So she's been vilified time and time again. She's had her Twitter account shut down. She's, I think one of her social media accounts taken down. I might have been Twitter. I think maybe it was her YouTube channel. Anyway, she's also, when she speaks the truth, you're onto something when some of these big tech oligarchs start taking down your social media. So final thought on inflation here. So was Tulsi right? Take a look at this new Post poll. 3 in 4 Americans say it would be difficult to afford rent in their neighborhood if they had to move. High rents, high energy prices, the food index is up, shelter was up.
Yes.
Everything across the board is up. And by the way, here's President Biden. Here's President Biden with his plan to combat the Putin price hike. Here's what he had to say about his plan. Here's Biden's plan. Listen.
It will bring down prices, but there's more. There's more than one way to solve this problem. We're continuing working to bring down food prices and gas prices and save families money by dealing with other items.
So we're going to save families' mother and money.
Okay.
I guess that's the way to do it.
I mean, look, you guys, it's June. You still can plant things,
Here we
right?
go.
I know. I'm always about growing your own food. If you can find a way, find a little plot of soil to plant your own food, because the grocery store is not going to be a friendly place for us for the foreseeable future. So take control of your own food supply to the best of your ability.
Thank you so much for subscribing to our channel. You know, we've been banned, we've been blocked, we've been censored. That's why we started our own website, to stay connected with you for free.
That's right. So head on over to redacted.inc and make sure you're connected with us. You can sign up again at redacted.inc, not .com.